Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. We are finally past the awful international break, but let's talk about Crystal Palace against Sunderland. Let's run through a bit of a preview. Let's look at what I think Sunderland will line up, how we win the game, how we lose the game, and all that good stuff. I will say that Oliver Glasner's press conference has not happened at the time of recording, so there may be updated team news for Crystal Palace by the time you watch this, but I'm just going off what we know right now. Anyway, let's dive into it. So I'm going to put Sunderland's predicted 11, or my 11, I suppose, on the screen right now. I think the back five, actually, and the midfield three pretty much picks itself. I don't see us obviously moving away from Robin Roofs. Ronaldo should be playing at left back. Alderete and Mukwele played really well against Brentford. I expect them to continue at centre back. And Trey Hume, I think he'll continue at right back. We know that Gertrude is coming to be potentially a centre back, so that suggests to me that Mukwele has probably been seen more as a right back, even though we've seen him at centre back. Into the midfield, Siddiqui Diarra and Xhaka, if all three of them are fit and raring to go, I don't see the manager tinkering with that. I did think because they played international games, it's possible that maybe one of Siddiqui or Diarra could come out and Lafay could go central. But I think that Labrie will go with that midfield three. He trusts it, he likes it, it seems to work pretty well. And then the forward line, and I think this is where it's most interesting. I have Lafay on the left. I think he played so well against Brentford, you couldn't pull him out. Centrally, I have it with Isidor. And I know that we brought in Brobby, and I know that we've got Mateta, who started most games there, and there's certainly a strong argument to say that Isidor is a finisher, as Reggie would put it. And I get that. I just think this game feels suited to Isidor. I think Sunderland are going to try and hurt Crystal Palace in transition. And I think that Isidor is probably the best option we've got to run that line centrally to be that focal point for counter-attacks. Then the right side, I've went with Adingra over Talby. I just think that we probably are expecting to be much more transitional in this game, and therefore to me it feels like it makes sense to go with Adingra, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to him going with Talby on the right, him going with Mayenda through the middle. I'm not necessarily bothered. I just think that this team to me feels like something which could go to Crystal Palace and hurt them. So that's my 11. Let me know your 11 in the comments. Let me know if you disagree with any of my picks for that. So what can we expect from Crystal Palace in this game? Well, the big news for them is that Sarr and Wharton look like they are both going to be out of this game, and that's obviously huge for us. They're two of their best players right now. They obviously got Mateta and they've got Gay at the back, Mateta obviously up front, but Sarr and Wharton, particularly Wharton, is like the heartbeat of this team, and Sarr is such a threat in the front line. So I think that that's really, really pivotal, really, for Sunderland to not have to go up against those two players, because they are massive threats. Mateta, we will have to obviously go up against him, and he's an absolute beast up front. It's going to be the best striker we've played against so far this season, certainly in terms of a pure striker. I know we've played Bowen, who's obviously very, very strong, but I think that Mateta is going to give us a lot of problems in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see how we deal with a player like him. Gay, well, the thing with him is, can you trust where his head's at? I know he's a really good guy off the field, and they talk about him being the ultimate professional. My personal opinion is that this whole saga with Liverpool won't necessarily affect him all that much, but you don't know that. We don't know how his mindset is. He was expecting to be playing for Liverpool this weekend, and instead he's still at Crystal Palace. So it's going to be very, very interesting there to see if there are any lingering sort of issues within the Crystal Palace team because of that. And we've also got sort of attached to this issue of Mark Gay is Oliver Glasner, who's reportedly really, really unhappy with what Crystal Palace had done this summer, and if they were to have sanctioned that Gay move, he apparently was going to walk. So that's another interesting development. Palace have obviously started the season really well. They've got 5 points, they're undefeated. But it is worth, sort of touching on the fact that Glasner isn't happy in it. It feels like all isn't that well in the Crystal Palace camp right now from top to bottom, just because of the summer that they've had. But Palace undefeated in the last 9 Premier League games. I think that's the longest current streak. We've also won the FA Cup and Community Shield in that time. So this is a fierce team. This is a very, very strong team. And I think it's fair to say we have played 3 of the bottom 8 teams this season, and this is our first test against a team that's better than that. I think Palace are somewhere between 12th and possibly 5th or 6th this season. They are I think a top half Premier League team in terms of quality, 1 or 2 notches above what we've seen from West Ham, Burnley and Brentford. So it's going to be fascinating to see how we approach this game and whether or not we can hurt Crystal Palace, who are slightly better than the teams we've played so far this season. So Crystal Palace's sort of last home game I'm going to look at, but also just generally what to expect from them. They had 42% of the ball against Nottingham Forest in their last home game, but it feels unlikely coming against a newly promoted team that they won't have more of the ball, especially against a team like Sunderland that likes to sacrifice the ball. But they aren't a team that's going to look to totally control possession. I don't expect Crystal Palace to come out with 60% plus in this game. That's just not their game. Last season they had an average of 42%. This season they've had an average of 37%. So they're very much a team that is more comfortable without the ball than they are with it. By contrast, Sunderland have had on average 50% of the ball this season, which is probably dictated to by the teams we've played so far, who haven't necessarily wanted the ball. We saw that against Burnley. They weren't massively keen to have the ball for long spells. And I think Palace will probably be quite similar. That being said, they're going to be far better on the ball and far more useful when it comes to their attacks. So how does Sunderland win the game? And that's obviously the most important question. That's what they've been working on for the last 2 weeks at the Academy of Light. But I think Sunderland win by being compact and organised. I think we have to frustrate Crystal Palace and not allow them the chances to transition. And that means being disciplined in your position. It means not taking an unnecessary risk to jump into the attack and then leave yourself short coming back, because that's what Palace want to do with you. When I saw Crystal Palace beat Aston Villa 3-0 last time out, and they were just relying on quick counter-attacks, really, really hurting Villa in transition, and Villa wanted to dominate the ball. Palace were just picking them off on the break. Now, obviously, this is going to be very different for us. We will not have as much ball as Aston Villa did against them, and we will not look to have tons of possession. So I don't think it's going to be... It's probably going to be similar to the Brentford game in the sense that Brentford are also a counter-attacking team, and Sunderland did a really good job of largely nullifying those counter-attacks by being so well organised and resolute defensively and not allowing Brentford the chance to transition. We have to do that again at Crystal Palace if we are to win this game. I think that going forward, we have to take any chances that present themselves. It's only likely, I would say, that you'll probably create one or two really good chances. We saw that at Burnley away this season. We had two good chances. Mayenda had one and Talby had one. We both missed them. We've got to take our chances when they come. We have been reasonably clinical in our home games this season. We need to show that on the road. But I also think as well set pieces are key for Sunderland, and I think set pieces are going to be really key for us this season. Generally, we look like we're going to be strong in terms of set pieces, touch wood. I'm on a wooden table, touch wood. But I feel like we look strong defensively and in an attacking sense from set pieces, which I think is really, really important. That's how I think we will get our edge this season. Is going to be from those positions. If we can score set piece goals and not allow them in, we'll have a really good chance of picking up points. And this could be the type of game that relies on maybe a few key set pieces. And if we can win those set piece battles, we'll have a good chance of winning the game. How do we lose the game? And I think that the one way we lose the game is just Crystal Palace are probably a better team than Sunderland. Sometimes you can execute a perfect game plan and play really, really well, and the opposition is just slightly better than you. That's just the way it is. But I think if we allow Palace to not have the ball, we have to put the impetus on Palace to have the ball and get their fan base thinking, right, we need to dominate this game. We need to have a lot of possession. They are used to not having the ball, but I think that at home against a newly promoted team, there might be an expectation for them to maybe take the mantle to Sunderland and really, really attack them. And I think that we are best when we don't have the ball and we're countering, and that's where Palace are best. So we can nullify them in a sense by sitting off them almost a little bit and saying, do you know what, have the ball, try and play through our organised defence, and then we'll try and pick you off in the break. That's how we win the game. But we lose the game by us sitting in their half, like we did at Burnley, dominating possession too much. We are not built to cut through lines and get through low blocks. That's just not how the Sunderland team is designed. And I think if we are to win, we can't, as I said, park ourselves in the final third. If we have more than 55% of the ball in this game, I'd be shocked if we won the game. That because we're just not built to do that. And at Burnley this season, we really saw that. It hurts us when we have too much of the ball. So the best case scenario for us is allowing Crystal Palace to sort of camp in our half and then us try and pick them off on the break. That's how we win this game of football. In terms of a prediction, I think this is going to be a really, really hard game for Sunderland. I think anything in terms of a positive result, a point, obviously a win would be lovely, but a point would be a fantastic result for us. But to be honest, I'm just hoping that we can go there, sort of hold our own, show what we're all about, try and create a few chances, be in the game, and it turn the game into a coin flip for me. That would be the positive. If we can match Crystal Palace blow for blow, and we lose the game, say 1-0 or 2-1, not the end of the world. What I don't want to see is someone go there and really take a bit of a beating, lose 2 or 3-0. That would be a massive blow for us and would really sort of put our season in perspective as to the start we've had in the games we played. So I really hope that Sunderland go there and it really is just going to be settled on 1 or 2 chances in the game. I think we can get a draw. You know, I think right now it'd take a 0-0 or a 1-1. I think it'd be really difficult to win it. And I think if we did win it, it would send a massive statement. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. You know, you don't want to talk about winning a game when it's not even kicked off yet. So I think my gut instinct is to probably say Crystal Palace probably edge this game 1-0 or 2-1. But I am hopeful that we can go there and get a draw. But let me know your predictions in the comments as well. And we'll catch you for another video after the game. And we've got a few exciting videos to come up as well. Well, one exciting interview to come up, which we'll see next week. So I'm looking forward to recording that and letting you guys watch it. So hopefully we'll be back for a video tomorrow on Saturday after the game, celebrating a very unlikely 3 points. We'll see you then.